So, so today we'll be starting with something called concept of pseudo force. Okay, so let's write it down. Concept of pseudo force. Pseudo force. Now, what is this pseudo force? What is this pseudo force I'm talking about? So remember my lecture of kinematics. Okay, there was something called relative velocity. In my kinematics lecture, there was something called relative velocity, where there were two cars, car A and car B. Okay, car A was moving with velocity VA and car B was moving with velocity VB, and the observer was seeing them from out here. Okay, now out here things will be little bit different. The car B, as seen by this observer, will be moving with velocity 0. That means the car B is standing still out here. Okay, the car B will be standing still out here. But car A, instead of moving with velocity A, it is moving with some acceleration A. Some acceleration. Car A has some acceleration A. That means velocity is continuously increasing itself. Okay. So if we magically shift the observer from our ground to this car A, what happens out here? When you magically shift the observer from the ground to car A, suppose I magically shifted the observer on the roof of car A, what will he see? He'll see this car B moving towards itself with the same acceleration A. If this observer is magically shifted to the roof of car A, then he'll see car B moving towards itself with an acceleration A. Okay? Why? Because we reverse the direction of this acceleration and apply it to all other remaining bodies. Okay? So, now, but Newton's second law of motion said that in order to have an acceleration, there must be a force. Without force, there cannot be any acceleration. Okay? So, this guy fell in trouble. So, there has to be some force to explain this acceleration. Okay? So, he said this acceleration is caused by pseudo force. Okay? Pseudo force. But pseudo force is nothing but false force. So what is the magnitude of this pseudo force that is causing this acceleration in this body as seen by this observer? So the magnitude of the pseudo force is mass of the body, that means out here body B, okay, the thing we are seeing, into acceleration of frame of reference. Acceleration of frame. That means acceleration of observer in opposite direction. In opposite direction. That means this force is equals to mass of this body or mass of this body B into acceleration of the frame in opposite direction. Okay, so we got the magnitude of pseudo force and the direction of pseudo force. So now we have a little bit idea of pseudo force. Now let us see how is pseudo force applied. Okay, how is pseudo force applied? So our next topic is some concept of pseudo force or some cases of pseudo force. The first case we'll learn about pseudo force is elevator problem. Okay? Elevator problem. Okay? Now, Imagine a glass door elevator. The elevator is made up of glass. Okay? And a person is inside the elevator. Now while the elevator was going up, someone became very bad and they cut off the cable. So when they cut off the cable, the elevator started falling with acceleration due to gravity. Now suppose there is an observer sitting on the ground, okay, observing this. There is an observer sitting on the ground observing this elevator falling to the ground with acceleration g. Okay. So what would be the FBD of this person as seen by this person sitting on the ground? So FBD of this person as seen by someone sitting on the ground is equals to, let's draw the FBD. The person is moving with acceleration and there is gravity forces acting on this body. Okay. So mg, or total force, is equals to mass of this body into acceleration. Therefore acceleration as seen by this observer of this person is g downwards. Okay, acceleration is g downwards. Now suppose what happens when the same lift falling with g downwards, but instead of this person seeing, I magically shifted this person into a CCTV inside the lift. Okay, I magically shifted the person inside a CCTV inside the lift. So what will the CCTV see? This person, the CCTV will see this person floating around in the lift. That means the acceleration of this person according to this CCTV is equals to 0. Okay, so let's write the FBD of this person according to this CCTV, or let's draw down the free body diagram of this person according to the CCTV. There is a person. Okay, gravity forces is acting downwards. Okay, and acceleration is 0. So whenever we shift a person inside a frame and the frame has an acceleration, we apply pseudo force, and the pseudo force is applied in the direction opposite to the acceleration of the frame. Okay, and the magnitude of the pseudo force is mass of the person or mass of the object that you are observing into acceleration of the frame, and the direction of the pseudo force is acting in opposite direction. So this mg is nothing but pseudo force. So if we equalize the force, upward force is mg, downward force is mg, is equals to ma. So acceleration is equals to 0. This is how this CCTV observed this person to be floating around in the lift. And in the same case, this is how this person, although this person is floating around in the lift, but to a person sitting on the ground, he will be appearing to fall with acceleration this g. Okay, this is the concept of pseudo force. Now let's take a truck example, or pseudo force inside a truck. Pseudo force inside a truck. Now suppose there is a truck. Now there is a string connected to a bob, okay, on the top of this truck. This is a string connected to a bob on top of this truck. Okay. So suppose suddenly this truck starts moving with some acceleration. Okay. What happens to this string? This string will get a little bit tilted. That means the string will get something like this. Okay. Now, suppose a person is seeing this truck, this bob inside the truck from the ground. Okay, how will he deduce this angle theta made by this string? Okay, so let's check what is happening out here. The thing that is happening out here, this is the roof of the truck. This is the roof of the truck. I'm drawing it down. Okay. Now out here from the ceiling of the truck, this string is pulling the bob, is pulling this mass, okay, towards right. There is some gravity forces acting on it, okay, and as seen by this observer, this bob or this mass is moving with this acceleration a, as seen by some observer on sitting on the ground or sitting on the grass, and this bob is moving with some acceleration a. Okay. Now this angle was given as theta. So whenever we slap this t, if this angle is theta, this angle is also theta. Okay. So whenever we slap this t in the vertical direction, that means t cos theta, we slap this t in the vertical direction, that means we get around t cos theta. So corollary means sequentially the horizontal components get t sin theta. Okay. Now let's draw out the vertical and horizontal reaction forces. Okay. Let's draw the vertical forces. In vertical component of forces, t cos theta minus mg is equals to mass of the body into acceleration in vertical component. Now observe this body. Is this body moving up or down? No, it is just moving sideways with an acceleration of a. This body is neither moving up nor moving down. Okay, so we can say the acceleration in y component is 0, or t cos theta is equals to mg. We took this mg to the right hand side. Similarly, for vertical component, for horizontal component or component of force on this side, we can say t sin theta. T sin theta is equals to mass into acceleration in horizontal component, and acceleration in horizontal component is given by a. Okay, or we can say t sin theta is equals to mass into acceleration. Now observe this equation and this equation. When I divide t sin theta by t cos theta, or when I divide this equation by this equation, what do we get? So if I divide horizontal equation by vertical equation, we get t sin theta by t cos theta is equals to, t sin theta is ma by t cos theta is mg. T gets cancelled, gets cancelled. Sin theta by cos theta is nothing but tan theta is equals to a by g. Okay. Now this was the angle made by this theta when the truck started acceleration. Now we'll try to solve the same problem using the concept of pseudo force or false force. What happens in case of pseudo force? This is the same diagram. Okay, but now instead of our observer being out here, I shifted this observer inside the truck. Okay, I shifted this observer inside the truck. That means our observer is being shifted out here. Now when our observer is being shifted out here, let's draw the free body diagram as seen by this observer inside the truck. Okay, there is some tension forces, there is some gravity forces, and according to this observer there will be no component of acceleration in this ball. Okay, that means the ball is moving nowhere, or the net acceleration of this ball is equals to 0. Okay, or acceleration of this ball equals to 0. But since this truck was moving with some acceleration a, this ball will experience a pseudo force in the opposite direction of acceleration and the magnitude of that pseudo force or the quantity of that pseudo force is nothing but mass of the ball or mass of this ball into acceleration of the frame in opposite direction. Okay, acceleration of the frame in opposite direction. So this was nothing but a pseudo force. So let's divide this T into components. Okay, similarly when you divide this T into components, we get the vertical component is T cos theta and the horizontal component is T sin theta. Vertical component is T cos theta and horizontal component is T sin theta. And the net acceleration of this ball is 0 as seen by this observer inside the truck. Okay. Now let's write down the vertical component of equation. The vertical component of equation is T cos theta minus mg. What is the vertical acceleration? Vertical acceleration is 0 is equals to 0 or T cos theta is equals to mg. Let's write down the horizontal component of equation. In horizontal component, okay, T sin theta minus ma. T sin theta minus ma is equals to mass into acceleration as seen by this observer. This observer sees this ball with 0 acceleration, that means is equals to 0 or T sin theta is equals to ma. Now similarly out here, if I divide the horizontal by vertical, we get tan theta is equals to a by g. But the point out here is not tan theta is equals to a by g, that we have obtained how to solve. The point, the thing to observe out here, see this horizontal component of equation, T sin theta minus ma when the observer was inside the truck, and see the horizontal component of acceleration when the observer was sitting in the ground. T sin theta is equals to ma. Okay, so can I say these two equations are same? This equation and this equation are same. Obviously, if I take T sin theta, if I take this ma to the right hand side, we get the same equation as T sin theta is equals to ma. But in this case, when the observer was inside the truck, this was known as pseudo force. And in the first case, when the observer was inside the ground, this was from Newton's second law of motion, where net force is equals to mass into acceleration. Okay, so pseudo force essentially is nothing but a false force or arbitrary force. Okay, in Newton's law of motion, net force is equals to ma, and this ma is also called inertial force. Inertial force. Okay. Net force on a body is equals to inertial force. So when this inertial force goes to the left hand side, or T sin theta minus ma, it becomes pseudo force. Okay. This becomes pseudo force. That means, in short, whenever the observer is in a frame and the frame is accelerating, we always introduce a pseudo force, and the direction of the pseudo force acts opposite direction to the acceleration of the frame. Okay, and the magnitude of the pseudo force is mass of the body which you are observing into acceleration of the frame in opposite direction. So this was the concept of pseudo force. Okay, so make a note. Frame that itself has acceleration. Okay, sometimes in the question you won't be given the frame is accelerating or the frame is decelerating or the frame is not accelerating. Will be given something in terms called inertial frame and non-inertial frame. So what are those? Inertial frame. Inertial frame. What is frame? Frame is nothing but a container containing the observer, or the container containing the observer is called frame of reference. Okay, so inertial frame is nothing but when the frame of reference, when the frame of reference or observer has no acceleration. Which means, see, in the first case, the observer was sitting in the ground. That means the ground was the object containing the ground was the container containing the observer. That means the acceleration of the ground was 0. Okay, that means the ground is an inertial frame. Okay, ground is an inertial frame. And second one is non-inertial frame. Non-inertial frame. Non-inertial frame is something when the frame of reference or observer has a acceleration. When the observer has an acceleration, we introduce pseudo force. Okay, let's write this properly. Inertial frame. And non-inertial frame. Okay, so let's see a question. A man weighing 80 kg, he stands on a weighing scale in a lift which is moving upward with a uniform acceleration of 5 meters per second square. What would be the reading on the scale? So what is happening out here? A man is in the lift. Okay, and the lift is going up with some acceleration of 5 meters per second square. Okay, lift is going up with an acceleration of 5 meters per second square, and there is an weighing balance, or weighing scale. They give us a reading in 5 kg or 10 kg. Okay, and the man is standing on top of this weighing scale. Okay, the mass of this man is 80 kg. Now make a note. This weighing scale will always give a reading of normal forces acting on it. A weighing scale always measures the normal forces acting on it. A weighing scale always measures the normal forces, normal or reaction forces acting on it. Okay, normal or reaction forces acting on it. Okay, so I want to solve this question using the concept of pseudo force. I can solve this problem without using pseudo force, but since we learned pseudo force right now, I'll be using the pseudo force concept to solve this problem. So what happens is, I shifted my observer inside the lift. That means I shifted the frame of reference to the lift. Okay, let's copy this diagram. Now let's draw the FBD of this person. The lift was moving up with an acceleration A is equals to 5 meters per second. So let's draw out the forces acting on this man. Gravity forces will be acting. He is standing on this weighing scale. That means a weighing scale will push an normal forces on it or reaction forces on it. And there is a pseudo force acting in the downward direction. Why? Because the observer, this CCTV, is moving upward with an acceleration of A. So the magnitude of the pseudo force would be mass of this man into acceleration of the observer. Okay, and according to this observer, the acceleration of this person is equals to 0. Note, the acceleration of observer is a, but the acceleration of this person according to the observer is equals to 0. So let's write down the equation. N minus mg minus ma is equals to mass into acceleration, and acceleration of this person according to CCTV is 0, or N is equals to mg plus ma, or N is equals to mg plus a. Mass of the person is given as 80 kg, force acceleration due to gravity is given as 10, and the lift is moving up with an acceleration of 5 meter per second. Or normal reaction force on this scale is equals to 80 into 50, or is equals to 1200 Newton. Okay, this is how we solved using the concept of pseudo force. Now let's do a new problem. A truck is stationary and has a bob suspended by a light string in a frame attached to a truck. The truck suddenly moves to the right with an acceleration of a. The pendulum will tilt. I have already solved this problem. Okay, by two methods. One is by the observer sitting on the ground, and the second is by an observer sitting inside the truck. So let's say this observer was sitting inside the truck. Okay, and the frame was moving with acceleration a. So the observer was moving with acceleration a. So this was t sin theta, t cos theta, because this angle is theta, t cos theta, and this became t sin theta. Downward mg, and pseudo force is mass of this bob into acceleration. So by horizontal component we get vertical, and horizontal component we get vertical component is t cos theta minus mg is equals to 0. Mg goes to the right hand side, so t cos theta is equals to mg, because t cos theta minus mg is equals to 0. In the horizontal component we get t sin theta minus ma is equals to 0. We send the ma to the right hand side, or t sin theta is equals to ma. So when we divide horizontal by vertical, we get t sin theta by t cos theta is equals to ma by mg, or tan theta is equals to a by g. So our correct option is option number B. The ball will tilt to the left with an angle of inclination of the pendulum with the vertical is tan inverse a by g. And I already taught you in kinematics that when tan theta is equals to g, that means theta can be written as tan inverse a by g. This is a mathematical concept that I taught you in kinematics. Okay, sometimes angle are written in terms of their trigonometric function. Now we'll learn about a new concept called inclined plane. Inclined plane. So inclined plane is something that has tilt to it. That means a body will be kept on a plane that has some angle theta with the horizontal, and body is being kept out here, or something is being done out here. Okay. Now, the most important concept out of inclined plane is, up till now we have been solving in y-axis and x-axis. Okay, this was the vertical, this was the horizontal. Okay, but we up till now used to break our vector components into this vertical axis and horizontal axis. But whenever there is an incline, we break the forces into this component. Okay, this was here our y component, or this becomes our y component. This direction is nothing but perpendicular to the incline, and this direction. Okay, this becomes our x-axis or horizontal component. Okay, whenever there is a case of incline, we always break the forces into a component perpendicular to the incline and a component parallel to the incline. Okay, whenever we are solving or dealing with problems that includes inclined plane, we always break the force into two components, that is the vertical component which is perpendicular to the incline and horizontal component which is parallel to the incline. Okay, so let's draw the FBD of this block or free body diagram of this block. Okay, this was incline. There is a normal forces. Why? Normal forces always acts perpendicular to the surface of contact. Okay, gravity forces always acts in the downward direction. Okay? So this mg or this gravity forces is not according to this perpendicular coordinate or horizontal and vertical coordinate. So we divide this mg force into this component or parallel component and perpendicular component. So how do we do that? This was the direction of our mg force. Now this angle is theta. This angle is 90 degree. Okay, why? Because whenever we intersect a horizontal line by a vertical line, we get 90 degrees, and gravity forces is always vertically downwards. So if this is 90 degree, if this is theta, what is this angle? This angle is nothing but 90 minus theta. Why? Because sum of angles of a triangle is equals to 180. This angle plus this angle plus this angle is equals to 180 degree. So automatically this angle becomes 90 minus theta. I am writing 90 minus theta as theta dash. Okay, theta dash is nothing as 90 minus theta. Why? Because it is a very long, it won't fit out here. Okay? So this angle is 90 minus theta. So when I slap this mg force in this line, what do I get? This is the normal force. When I slap the mg line in this component, what do I get? Mg slapping is always cos 90 minus theta, and the perpendicular component becomes mg sin 90 minus theta, but theta is the angle of the incline. So what is cos 90 minus theta? In kinematics I have shown you that trigonometric ratio. Cos 90 minus theta is nothing but sin theta. Cos 90 minus theta is sin theta. Similarly, out here sin 90 minus theta becomes cos theta. So whenever we component any forces in an incline, we always component them into perpendicular to the incline and parallel to the incline instead of vertical and horizontal axis. Okay, our vertical axis becomes perpendicular to the incline and horizontal axis becomes parallel to the incline. So let's solve a question to understand this concept better. Okay, a block of mass m is placed on a smooth inclined plane ABC of inclination theta as shown in figure. Okay. This block was moving towards right. The OH is given an acceleration of A towards the right. This OH is given an acceleration of A towards the right. The relation between A and theta for the block to remain stationary on the OH is, that means what is the relation between this angle A and this theta so that the block will stay as it is in this OH. So our observer, from common sense, our observer, if he sits on this wedge, he must see this block M as it is out here. He must see this block not move. Okay. So in order for this observer to have this mass, or the acceleration of mass of this mass according to this observer is equals to 0, okay, what should be the angle between this A and this theta? What should be the angle between this A and this theta? Let's write down capital A out here because you will get confused. Okay, capital A is the acceleration of this block according to this observer, and small a is the acceleration of the wedge according to some observer on the ground. Okay, so let's draw the free body diagram. Let's draw the free body diagram of this block. This block has gravity forces acting downwards, normal forces in this direction, okay, and there is a pseudo force. Why? Because the observer is in the container which is accelerating. The observer is sitting in a container which itself was accelerating, so there is a pseudo force, and the magnitude of the pseudo force is mass of this body into acceleration of the frame in opposite direction. Okay, now what is this angle? Okay, this was the direction of pseudo force. This was the direction of this pseudo force. What is this angle? This angle is nothing but theta. Why? See, parallel lines. Okay? If this angle is theta, this angle is also theta. So when we slap this vector in this direction, what do we get? Ma cos theta, and so when we slap this vector in this direction, we get Ma cos theta because this angle is theta. Similarly, the perpendicular component would be Ma sin theta. Let's write it neatly. Ma sin theta. Similarly, the component of mg force or gravity force would be mg cos theta and mg sin theta. Okay, this is our free body diagram of the block. Now, according to this observer, this is our free body diagram. Now let's draw out the equation in the horizontal, this component, or parallel to the inclined component. So let's say parallel to the incline is named as horizontal. So our horizontal equation would be Ma cos theta minus mg sin theta would be equals to 0. Why? Because this observer is seeing this block of mass m moving with 0 acceleration, or Ma cos theta is equals to mg sin theta, or sin theta by cos theta is nothing but this m gets cancelled, but A by G is equals to sin theta by cos theta, which is nothing but tan theta, or A is nothing but G tan theta. Okay? So our correct option is option number D. Okay? What happens if this acceleration is further increased? If this acceleration is further increased, this body will go or start moving in this direction, okay, and fall off from here. What happens if the acceleration is reduced or acceleration becomes 0? The gravity forces will pull this block down, okay, and this block will slide off out here from out here. Okay. Now we enter the territory of friction. Okay. Friction forces. Now, water friction, how is friction caused, all the theoretical topics will be covered in your theories. But out here, we'll discuss the thing or the most important concept we need to know about friction to move our questions or to solve the question. But the most important concept of friction is friction force only gets activated when the surface between the bodies either attempts or successfully slips. Okay? Friction forces only gets activated when the surface between the bodies attempts to sleep or is attempting to sleep. Attempts or successfully sleeps. That means sleeping means it is sleeping over the surface or it is trying to or attempting to sleep. Okay? Let's keyword these two: attempt or successfully. Okay? In some books it is also written as, okay, friction opposes relative motion between surface, or friction opposes relative motion between surface. Okay. So suppose this is a surface. Suppose this is a block and this block is kept in this surface. Suppose this block is 100 kg. Now I, being a very weak person, is trying to push it. Is applying some force out here. The force is, I applied some force, but due to friction in practical life, when I apply the force out here, okay, neither the body moves, neither the body starts moving, the body stays as it is, even though I am applying some force. So why is it like that? Because the ground or this surface between the ground and this block is applying an friction force in the opposite direction. Okay, that's why this block was not moving. So out here what is happening? The block is attempting to sleep, but not actually sleeping. Okay. Now let's take another case. Now the same block 100 kg. Now someone just heavy hammer or heavy bulldozer, someone hit this block with a heavy bulldozer. Okay. So what happens is this block starts moving, or this block gains some velocity v. Okay. After a certain time, after moving a certain time, it stops. So how did it stop? Because there was a friction force acting while the body was moving towards right, or while the body was sleeping between this surface and this surface. Okay. Okay. And in this case, the body successfully sleeps. These are the two cases. Now I'll draw these two cases again. Okay. So out here, this was the body. I tried to push it with some force, but I was unable to move it because some friction force. Okay. And out here, the body was already moving with some velocity, and after a certain time, it stopped because a friction force was, acceleration out here is equals to 0, velocity out here is equals to 0, out here velocity is in this direction and acceleration is in this direction because of friction force. Okay. And this case was, the left hand case was attempting to sleep, and in the right case was successfully sleeping. Okay. Now, there are few things to name. See the left hand side where it was attempting to sleep. See this side where the body was attempting to sleep. Now, this was the ground. I tried to push this force, but this duster was not moving because due to friction, my force was not enough. So why? Because this ground or this surface between duster and the ground is applying an equal and opposite force in this direction. Okay. So if I apply 5 Newton of force, what should be the friction force in the opposite direction? The friction force in the opposite direction will be 5 Newton only. Okay. What does that mean? If I apply 10 Newton, what will be the friction force? The friction force will be 10 Newton in the opposite direction. It can never be that I apply 1 Newton and friction force start applying 100 Newton. Okay, in the opposite direction. That can never be. Why? Because suppose I touch it, that with friction force this will continue accelerating out here. Does it happen in real life? No. So, friction forces are self-adjusting in nature. Friction forces are self-adjusting. Self-adjusting in nature. When the body is attempting to sleep. Okay? Now out here. Suppose this body was moving with velocity v, irrespective of my force or something, what would be the maximum friction force, or what would be the value of friction force acting on this duster? The value of friction force applying on this duster while it was moving, okay, is the maximum value it can afford. That means whenever a body is sleeping, if the body is moving with relative to each other, the value of friction force is the maximum value this friction force can afford. Okay? Friction force or maximum value of friction force get applied. Maximum value of friction force gets applied. Okay. So what are this maximum value and what are the self-adjusting value? Okay. So suppose say maximum friction capacity is 200 Newton. Maximum friction capacity. Capacity is equals to 200 Newton in this attempting to sleep. Okay, and I applied 10 Newton. Will the friction force be 200 Newton towards the left? No. The friction force would be 10 Newton towards the left. Or if my applied force is 10 Newton, frictional force would be 10 Newton towards the left. But out here, suppose maximum friction capacity is equals to 200 Newton. If the body is sleeping, if the body is already sleeping, then the value of friction force applied is equals to 200 Newton. Okay, it doesn't care what are the other forces. If the body is moving with relative to each other, maximum value of friction force gets applied. Okay? Now, the forces on the left, or friction forces on the left when the body is attempting to sleep, is called static friction. Okay? And the forces on the right when the body is successfully sleeping is called kinetic friction. Kinetic friction. Okay. Now there is a little bit of theoretical concept. Okay. So let's draw this. This is a ground. This is a block. and I apply some force, okay, and the friction force gets applied. Okay. Now what I am doing is I am measuring my force. I am measuring my force and the friction force on a graph paper. Okay, so this is friction force and my force or applied force. The maximum capacity of this friction force is given by some formula. Okay, so what is this formula? The maximum capacity of friction force, maximum capacity of friction force is given by mu n, where mu is the coefficient of friction. Coefficient of friction. This coefficient of friction will be given in the question and is mainly dependent on the types of surfaces. Okay, and n is the normal reaction force. Normal reaction force. Normal reaction force means this force applied on the duster. Okay, so you haven't seen that if I press this object out here, it is much more difficult to move, or friction force gets increased because of this normal reaction force. Now suppose, now let's come back to this graph. The maximum value of friction was mu n. Okay, so what happens if out here when my force is equal to 0? Out here when the force was equal to 0, the friction force will also be equal to 0. When I increase the force to 1, friction force will also get increased to 1. So this will continue, or the friction force will keep adjusting to my applied force until it reaches its maximum value. Okay, so after it reaches its maximum value, I apply more force. Or the force keeps on increasing. What happens? The friction cannot keep on increasing. The friction will stay constant at mu n, and the body starts moving with some acceleration because there is some net positive acceleration, net positive force in the right direction. Okay, now this was our graph. Now there is a little bit of concept out here. Okay, when I increase the force, okay, this out here, before, as soon as the body starts moving, okay, as soon as the body starts moving, the maximum value of friction force decreases a little bit. What do I mean? That means as the body starts moving, the maximum value of friction force, suppose this was un, the maximum value of friction force that can be applied in a moving condition becomes mu n. Let's say the upper mu is mu s and the lower mu is mu s n and the lower mu is mu k n. Mu k. Understood what was happening? This duster, as soon as it started to move, the friction force or the maximum capacity of friction force decreased a little bit. Okay, and this upper force where the body will start to move is called static coefficient of friction. Okay, static coefficient of friction. And the lower force that is applied, okay, when the body is already moving is called kinematic or kinetic friction coefficient. Okay, so out here the important concept was that static friction is a little bit greater than kinetic friction. So the concept out here is static friction is a little bit greater than kinetic friction. Kinetic friction. Now why is that? Okay, Normally there are many theories, okay? There are hell lot of theories and new theories are even coming out. So I'll tell you the most common accepted by NCERT standard, okay? In NCERT, what they said was friction occurs because the molecules on the surface of this duster and the molecules in my hand, they form an electromagnetic bond, okay? So before breaking of this bond, they hold tightly each other. But as soon as the bond is broken, okay, the new bonds on this duster, when it goes out here, these molecules out here do not get additional time to form a strong bond, okay? So these bonds, or a moving bond, is much weaker than a stationary bond, okay? So this is the theory. That theory won't be very practical in use, okay? The main thing you have to learn is the coefficient of static friction, or static friction is a little bit greater than kinetic friction, okay? Now, we have already known that the maximum capacity of friction force is given by maximum capacity of friction force is equals to mu, okay? Where mu is coefficient of friction, and n is the normal reaction force. Normal reaction force, okay? Now let's do a quick revision what was doing in friction. In friction gets only applied when the body attempts to move or is successfully moving. So when the body attempts to slip, that means the friction force is self-adjusting, and when the body successfully slips, the maximum capacity of the friction force gets applied, okay? And in the third slide we learned that the coefficient of static friction is little bit greater than the coefficient of kinetic friction, or the force required to break the bond, or the force required to start moving an object is a little bit greater than a force, means the force required to keep it moving with continuous velocity. If I want to move this duster with continuous velocity, I have to apply some force. Why? Because the friction force is opposing my force, okay? So the main concept between static and kinetic friction is the force required to start moving the duster, or force of static friction, is a little bit greater than force required to keep the duster moving, or kinetic friction out here. Now suppose a block is kept and the coefficient of friction, or coefficient of friction between the surface, is given by mu, and I apply some force. What will be the friction force applied? In the opposite direction. Whenever you are dealing with problems of friction, there are steps to solve a friction problem. Step 1 is find the maximum capacity of friction. Find the maximum capacity of friction. Step 2, determine the body is moving or not. Okay. Determine the body is moving or not. Okay. The trick to determine is if the unbalanced force, or if this force, which is called unbalanced force, is greater than mu n. If unbalanced force, so why am I writing this F as unbalanced force. That means in normal problems what you will be given is, you will not be given this F alone, but there will be many forces, A, B, C, D, E, F. The net summation of this all the forces, or the net summation of all the external forces are called unbalanced forces. Okay, we will not be dealing with a single force. Okay, so if unbalanced force F out here, example F is greater than mu n, is greater than maximum capacity of friction, then the object is moving, then the block is moving, otherwise it is not moving, else not moving. That means if the entire congregation of these forces, force A, force B, force C, force D, whatever, is greater than the maximum capacity of the friction force, is greater than mu n, that means the body block will move, otherwise it will not move. Okay, now let's do a problem. So now let's solve a question. Okay, from here we start solving question. So which one of the following statement is incorrect? That means which one of the following statement is wrong? Frictional forces opposes relative motion. This is correct. Frictional forces indeed opposes relative motion. The limiting value of static friction is directly proportional to the normal reaction. That means it is asking if force or friction force is directly proportional to normal reaction force. The second option is asking if friction force is directly proportional to normal reaction force, and we know that this indeed is correct, because friction force is equals to coefficient of friction into normal reaction force. Rolling friction is smaller than sliding friction. This is also correct, and the in-depth details of rolling friction we'll study in rotational mechanics. For now, I'm just giving you a brief. Okay, so how does a car move forward? This is the wheels of a car. The wheels rotate. When the wheels try to rotate, what happens is this wheel is trying to push the earth in this direction. So in turn, by Newton's third law, the earth pushes back the wheel in this direction. Okay, so this wheel tried to apply some friction force in this direction, and in return the earth applied some friction force on the wheel, and this friction force rotates the wheel and the car moves forward. Okay, and this is called rolling friction. Rolling friction. Now what happens when I apply the brake and try to push the car? This tire will drag over the ground, and that is called, that event is called sliding friction. Okay, so rolling friction is always lesser than sliding friction. Why? By normal, if you see, if the tire is locked or if the tire cannot rotate, it will be much more difficult to push the car or drag the car. Okay, this thing we'll learn in depth in rotational mechanics. For now, just remember rolling friction is greater than sliding friction. Okay, the coefficient of sliding friction has dimension of length. No, this is incorrect. Why? In units and dimension chapter we have studied that to find out the dimension of anything, we have to find out the dimension of mu. So the dimension of mu can be found out by dividing the dimension of force by dividing the dimension of normal reaction force, and these both are forces. That means mu is dimensionless. Okay, that means mu is dimensionless. Okay, you can write it if you want to, but it can be derived by using simple logic. Force has dimension of force. Normal reaction force is also has a dimension of force. So mu is equals to F by N, which is equals to 1, which is dimensionless. Now let's read the next question. A body of mass m is kept on a rough horizontal surface. Coefficient of friction is equals to mu. Horizontal friction force is applied on the body, but it does not move. The resultant of normal reaction and the friction force acting on the object is given as F, where F is equals to. So what is this question trying to tell us or asking us? Let's first understand the question. This is a ground. An object is kept on this ground. Okay. Now a human is applying some force, HF. Okay. And the coefficient of friction between the block and the ground is mu. So what happens when this human tries to apply some force? In reality, a friction force gets applied by the ground on the block in the opposite direction. So this, as I increase the HF from 0, this friction force also increases and matches up with this HF. So after a certain while, this friction force, okay, no longer has the capacity to hold back this block, and then the block starts slipping and moves ahead. Okay. So let's draw the FBD of this block. Full FBD of this. There is a normal reaction force applied by the ground on the block. The block has gravity of its own, and a human is applying force, and a friction force is getting applied by the ground. Okay. Now the question says, F is a force that is, or A vector given out here, okay, is equals to summation of normal reaction force vector plus friction force vector. Okay, so we can see this normal reaction force and friction force are 90 degree to each other. So if we try to find out the magnitude of F, what happens? The magnitude of F comes as n square plus Fr square. Okay, so this was our question. Find the force, okay, when the body starts slipping. Now let's check the option. The option mg is there and mu mg is there. There is nothing called n or Fr. So what is happening out here? What is happening out here? Okay, now study what actually happened. Okay, let's draw the FBD. Okay, upward is normal reaction force, downward is gravity force. Out here is a human applying some force and friction force getting applied out here. Okay, let's draw the vertical component of reaction forces. Vertical means this side. N minus mg. N minus mg is equals to mass of this block into acceleration in vertical component. Is the block moving up or down? No. That means acceleration in vertical component is equals to 0. Or N is equals to mg. Now for horizontal component of force, okay, or x-axis, HF minus Fr is equals to, now let's see the question. As a result, the friction force acting on the object, horizontal force is, but it does not move. The resultant of normal reaction force acting on the body, that means what is the maximum value of this F? What is the maximum value of this F so that this body does not move? Okay, what is the maximum value of this F so that this body does not move? F is nothing but the vector sum of N and Fr. Okay, this is actually the question. So the maximum value of F that can be done is equals to when the friction force has the maximum magnitude of mu n. If F exceeds, means is greater than this mu n, that means if the summation of F or summation of this vector plus this vector, if the F vector is greater than the vector summation of this vector plus this vector, that means the block starts moving. So in order to stop the block from moving, the maximum value of friction force will get applied, okay, or the body just starts moving, or m into 0.000001, that can be written as 0. Okay, very small. The body just started slipping. Okay, there is no acceleration, or HF is equals to mu n. Okay, or friction force is equals to mu n. Okay, so we can say when the block just begins to move, when the block just begins to move, F friction force is equals to mu n. Friction force is equals to mu n. And from vertical component of force, what is the value of n? The value of n is mg. So can I substitute n by mg? Mu mg. Okay, this n is substituted by mg from out here. Okay, this n is substituted by this mg from out here. Okay, now what was the value of f from the previous slide? F, the magnitude of f was under root of n square plus fr square. So magnitude of f is equals to n square. N square is nothing but mg square plus friction force square. Okay, or friction force is nothing but mu mg square. Okay. Now when the block just begins to slip, if we solve this, then our answers comes as mg whole square 1 plus mu square into 1 plus mu square. So when the block just begins to slip, okay, our answer is mg under root 1 plus mu square, under root mu square. That means as long as this f is lesser than mg 1 plus mu square, the block doesn't move. As long as this f is lesser than mg root 1 plus mu square, this block does not move. Okay, so our correct option is C, or f is lesser than mg root over 1 plus mu square, or mg root over 1 plus mu square. Okay, now make a note. Friction angle. So friction angle, the derivation of friction angle is actually based on this diagram. Okay, is actually based on this diagram. The angle between the resultant between friction force and normal reaction force. Okay, but for solving problems you don't need to remember that much. Okay, you don't need to remember where friction angle came from or how friction angle is derived. You just need to remember that in question, sometimes instead of directly giving you the value of mu, they give you the value of friction angle. Friction angle is 35. That means from friction angle you have to find out the value of mu. And how do we find out the value of mu from friction angle? Is nothing but mu is equals to tan theta. So sometimes in question, instead of directly giving you the value of mu, they give you the value of friction angle, and you find out the value of mu by mu is equals to tan theta, or tan into friction angle. Okay, this is the main importance of friction angle in your mechanics. Okay, now angle of repose. This is a new topic. Angle of repose. Now suppose this is an inclined plane. This is an inclined plane. A block is kept on this inclined plane, and I have the freedom to move this inclined plane up or down. Okay. Now see. Suppose this is a block. Okay. Now this is an inclined plane, and the block is left on this inclined plane. Now I have the freedom to tilt this inclined plane. So after a certain while of tilt, the block starts slipping. What is happening out here? After a certain degree of tilt, the block starts slipping. This block starts slipping. What is happening out here? Okay. So let's check. Let's draw the free body diagram of this block. Okay. On the right hand side we get mg sine theta. On this side we get mg cos theta. Here it is normal reaction force, and out here we get some friction force. And the maximum value of friction force is maximum value of friction force is equals to mu n, where n is equals to mg cos theta. See, n minus mg cos theta is equals to 0. Why? The block is neither moving this side nor moving this side. So n is equals to mg cos theta. So mu n is equals to mu mg cos theta. Okay. Now the maximum value of friction force is mu mg cos theta in this direction. Okay. So what happens when I start tilting? When I keep increasing the theta. Okay. So at initial, or when the theta is very low, friction force keeps adjusting itself to mg sine theta. Okay. But after a certain value of theta, okay, the value of this mg sine theta becomes so large that it becomes greater than this mu mg cos theta. And when that happens, that means the block starts slipping. That means there is a net force in this direction and the block starts slipping. So when after a certain angle, when mg sine theta becomes greater than mu mg cos theta, or maximum value of friction force capable, or the maximum value possible for friction force, then the block starts slipping. Then the block starts slipping. Okay. So let's draw the component of forces. In the vertical component, n minus mg cos theta is equals to 0, or n is equals to mg cos theta. Okay. Therefore, maximum value of friction force is equals to mu n is equals to mu mg cos theta. Okay. When the block starts slipping, that means let's draw the horizontal component of force when the block starts slipping. When the block starts slipping. When the block starts slipping, the mg sine theta minus the maximum value of friction force, which is equals to mu mg cos theta, is equals to mass into 0.00001, or that can be written as 0. Okay, or out here, now let's solve this equation. Or mg sine theta, this mu mg cos theta can be taken to the right hand side, mu mg cos theta. Now this mg and this mg gets cancelled. Okay, and if you take this cos theta to the left hand side, we get tan theta, or tan theta is equals to mu. Okay, that means when the coefficient of friction, when angle theta is equals to the coefficient of friction, when tan of angle, this inclined angle, when tan of this angle is equals to the coefficient of friction, this block starts slipping. Okay, this is, and that angle, tan of, and that angle at which the block starts slipping is called angle of repose. The angle at which the block starts slipping is called angle of repose. Now you need to make an observation. Okay. So let's write down. the angle of incline at which the block starts slipping is called angle of repose. The angle of incline at which the block starts slipping is called angle of repose. Okay. Now I need to make an observation. That angle of repose and angle of friction is same, has the same magnitude. They are conceptually different, but they have the same meaning. See, what is the friction angle? Sorry, angle of repose and friction angle. Sorry, okay. Angle of repose and friction angle has the same magnitude. What is friction angle? Mu is equals to tan theta. And what is angle of repose? Angle of repose was also tan theta. So, angle of repose and friction angle has the same magnitude, but they are conceptually different. Okay, they are not conceptually same. They are numerically same, but conceptually different. Now let's read a question. A block has been placed on an inclined plane with the slope theta. The block slides down at the constant speed. The coefficient of kinetic friction is equals to. Just now we derived angle of repose is equals to tan theta, but still most of you won't be satisfied, so I am deriving it quickly. Okay, the free body diagram out here, mg sin theta, mg cos theta, friction force, and n. The maximum value of friction force is mu mg cos theta. So mg sin theta minus mu mg cos theta is equals to 0, or tan theta is equals to mu. Okay. Now let's read the next question. A plank with a box on it at one end is gradually raised and about the other end. Okay, the angle of inclination with the horizontal reaches 30 degrees. The box starts to slip and slides 4 meters down the plank in 4 seconds. The coefficient of static friction and kinetic friction between the block and the plank respectively will be. So what is happening out here? Okay. So a plank was raised from 0 degree to this degree. Okay. Now after a certain degree, the block starts slipping. Now what actually is happening out here? Okay. You will remember that I said that when the block starts moving, the friction force, the maximum capacity of friction force is usually a little bit lesser than the static friction force. Okay, the maximum value of friction force when the block is moving is little bit lesser than the maximum value of friction force when the block is static or not moving. Okay, so after a while, so at certain angle, this block reaches this barrier peak. That means the friction forces out here reach this peak and it starts moving. And when it started moving, the kinetic or the maximum value of friction force reduced to this level. So obviously this has some acceleration and it started moving down. Okay, and that angle happens to be 30 degree. That means at 30 degree it broke this, it reached out here, and since it started moving, this maximum value of friction capacity reduced to some lower value and the block started accelerating. Okay, and out here the coefficient of friction is mu s, and out here the coefficient of friction is mu k. Okay? So when the block starts slipping, at the start of slipping, that means the block hasn't started moving yet. Okay? At the start of slipping, or mu s. What is happening out here? Let's draw the free body diagram. Okay. In this side, mg sin theta. In this side, mu n. Okay. Out here, mg cos theta, and out here n. Okay, normal reaction force. And in this side it was friction force, and the maximum. And this side it was friction force. And when the block started moving, we apply the maximum value of friction force, or mu s. Okay, mu s into normal reaction force, which is equals to mg cos theta. Okay. Now when the block starts moving, okay, we can easily say, when the block starts moving, we can easily say mg sin theta minus mu s mg cos theta is equals to 0. Okay, or tan theta is equals to mu s, or tan theta is equals to mu s, and theta is given by 30 degree, or tan 30 is equals to mu s, or mu s is equals to tan 30 is equals to, tan 30 is around 1 by root 3. 1 by root 3 is around 0.577 something. Okay, 0.577. So let's look at this option. I'll just go with 0.6. Okay, so our value of static coefficient of friction should be 0.6. So this option is incorrect. This is correct. This is correct. No, this is also incorrect. The coefficient of statics is past. So it would be either option A or option B. Okay. Now from common sense we can easily deduce option number B. Because why? Coefficient of kinetic friction will be little lesser than coefficient of static friction. So we can easily deduce option number B from common sense. Okay. But I'll solve it full. Okay. This angle is nothing but 90 minus theta, written as theta dash. Okay. Okay. Now let's see what is happening out here. Okay. This was mg sin theta. Okay. Out here was mu k n. When the body started sleeping, that means at this phase, when the body started sleeping, out here the value of friction force would be mu k, or the value of coefficient of friction would be mu k. Therefore, the value of frictional force would be mu k into n, and this mg gets converted to mg sin theta and mg cos theta, and there is a normal reaction force out here. Okay, so this mu k n is nothing but mu k into mg cos theta. Why? Because n minus mg cos theta is equals to 0. Okay, because the body is not moving vertically, or this body is not moving vertically, is equals to mu k into mg cos theta. So with this value of thing, the body accelerates because the maximum value of friction force dropped, and there is a net positive force in this direction. This made this block accelerate in this direction. And now the question says, okay, the block slips to 4 meter down the plank in 4 seconds. That means suppose this was 4 meter. The block slips this much 4 meter in 4 seconds. In time is equals to 4 seconds. So we can apply the equation of motion. V is equals to u plus at, s equals to ut plus half at square, and v square is equals to u square plus 2s. So we apply s is equals to ut plus half at square. Okay, s is nothing but given as 4. U is nothing but 0. Why 0? Because the block was initially at rest. Okay, initially at rest when it started tilting. Before moving, the block was starting from rest. Okay, t is given as 4. T is given as 4. So let's find out the value of a. Okay, or 4 is equals to 0 plus half a into 4 square. Okay, or a is equals to 0.5 when we solve this. Okay, so the net acceleration in downward direction we found out to be 0.5 meter per second square. And from Newton's law of motion we know that net force is equals to mass into acceleration, or mg sin theta minus mu k mg cos theta is equals to mass into 0.5. Okay, this m and this m gets cancelled. Okay, now we need to find out mu k. So we take the mu k to the right hand side and 0.5 to the left hand side. So g sin theta minus 0.5 is equals to mu k cos theta, or mu k is equals to g sin theta by cos theta. We are dividing the cos theta on both on the left hand side by 0.5 by cos theta is equals to mu k, or is equals to g tan theta minus 0.5 by cos theta. So whatever this value is, okay, g sin theta minus 0.5 by cos theta, or g sin theta minus 0.5 by g cos theta, we know that this value is lesser than mu s. Okay, or g tan theta is nothing but 10 into 0.57 minus 0.5, 0.07 divided by cos 30. Cos 30 is root 3 by 2, or 1.73 divided by 2. Okay, so that comes as 0 point something. So we know that the main thing we know that this value is lesser than 0.6. So our only correct option is 0.5. Okay, 0.5. Let's solve it. Okay, g sin theta or g sin theta minus 0.5 by g cos theta. Okay, or is equals to mu, or we can say 10 sin 30 minus 0.5 by 10 cos 30. 10 sin 30 minus 0.5 by 10 cos 30. I am solving a little bit fast, but this comes by practice. Okay, there is no alternative trick. You just have to memorize these values and the rest will come as practice. 10 sin 30 is 1 by 2 into 10 is 5. Okay, minus 0.5 by 5 into root 3. Root 3 is 1.71. Okay, or 4.5 divided by 5 into root 3. So it is equals to 0.9 by root 3. Okay, mu s was 1 by root 3 and mu k is 0.9 by root 3. So by common sense we can easily deduce that option B is correct. Okay, up till here we'll take a little bit of